Grace and peace to you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. We're in John chapter 6 right now. Jesus had just finished feeding the multitude of people. They wanted him to become king. He wanted no part of that, and he didn't want his disciples to have any part of it. So what he did was he told his disciples, get in the boat, go across the Sea of Galilee, I'll meet you on the other side. The disciples did what he told them to do. And this is where I want you to start thinking about your life in this story. The disciples did what Jesus told them to do. And then we're going to see a storm come up. And we're going to see a lot of struggle and a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety and wonder why the disciples are doing what Jesus told them to do. They're in his will, but yet they're struggling. And that's what we can look for in our life. And I want you to think about that as we move along, that we could be in God's will, we could be doing everything he wants us to do, but yet we still struggle. That's called life. And what we're going to see here is we're going to see that Jesus knows this, Jesus is watching this, and Jesus is going to take care of it in this miracle. He's going to show the disciples not to be afraid. And that's what I want to title this lesson is, Don't Be Afraid. And you're going to see why. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to read John chapter 6, verses 16 to 20. Then I'm going to jump over to Matthew chapter 14, verses 28 to 31. Because, see, this miracle is recorded in 3 of the Gospels. But John doesn't record it all. And I want to show you what happens and why we're not supposed to be afraid. So here we go. Chapter 6, verses 16 to 20. When evening came, his disciples went down to the lake, where they had gotten into a boat and set across the lake for Capernaum. Now it was dark, and Jesus had not yet joined them. A strong wind was blowing, and the waters grew rough. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water, and they were frightened. But he said to them, "Don't be afraid, it is I." So then we pick up in Matthew. When he says this, Peter says to him, "Lord, if it is you, tell me to come onto the water." Jesus says, "Come." Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. And he said, "You have little faith. Why do you doubt?" Now we're going to go back to John and finish it up here. When they were willing to take him into the boat, and then they were willing to take him in the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore where they were heading. You have the here situation. Jesus tells his disciples to go into the boat. They get into the boat. A big storm comes up. They're afraid. They're scared. Remember, they had gone out 3 or 4 miles. Now, across this lake is about 6 to 8 miles, so they were about halfway there. The storm comes up. The boat's being tossed around by the water. The waves are huge. They're just rocking the boat everywhere. The disciples are scared. Then all of a sudden, they see Jesus walking on the water. And Jesus calls out to them. He goes, "Don't be afraid. It's me." Peter says, "Look, Jesus, if it's you, tell me. I'm going to come out to you." Peter gets out. Peter starts walking on the water himself. Then all of a sudden, Peter's looking around and he's looking at all the situation. He's looking at everything going around him that's a huge storm, that's life-threatening. He's being distracted. He took his eyes off of Jesus and he began to sink. And when he started sinking into the water, he was scared and he cried out, "Lord, save me." And Jesus reached out his hand and picked Peter up. And then they got into the boat. And when they got into the boat immediately went to the other side. So immediately, within a flash, Jesus' presence brought the disciples out of the storm and onto the safe side. Jesus said to Peter, he says, "Don't doubt. Don't be scared. I'm here. I'm here to help you." There's so many things that go on in our lives that scare us. So many things that scare us. But through it all, Jesus is always there. He's always there to help us. He's always there to save us. That's what he wants us to know. He wants us, It doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter if it's life-threatening, if it's a disease, if you lose your job, you lose your house, you lose everything. It doesn't matter. Jesus is there to save you, and he's there to provide a way for you to get through it and to come out safe on the other side. That's what he's about. He wants you to look at him and call on him, especially when you're distressed, especially when you're scared, because he's going to save you. These things are written so that you will believe that he is the Messiah. These things are written so that if you already believe in him, that your relationship with him will be strengthened, that you'll grow with him. Because in the end, that's all that matters. That's what this parable is about. That's what this miracle is about. All it is about trusting Jesus to save you from whatever's going on in this earth, and to save you for all of eternity. Have a great week. We're going to look at the rest of John chapter 6. I might get into a couple more. Well, we got a few more before we get to the end of 6. So anyway, have a great week.